చేరండి విజయం సాధించండి విజేత స్టడీ సర్కిల్.
Hi, welcome to Vijeta Study Circle. Today we are going to continue our Polity-MCQ series and we are going to cover some more important questions from the polity. So let's start the session. So the Polity-MCQ series, the next question is here. In this question it has given the match the following list, and under that it has provided some of the political parties and year of formation. So this is a very straight away question, there is no need of much explanation. So here it has given the CPI, AIADMK, Telugu Desam Party, and here we have some of the options. So the CPI established year they are asking, it is 1920, and the CPM is 1964, and AIADMK on the other hand 1972, and the Telugu Desam is 1982. So here the option is 2, 3, 1, 4. So where can I see 2, 3, 1, 4? It is in the first option itself. So this is a straight away question, that's why we are not giving the much of explanation here. So the first option is the correct answer here. So this is a straight question. And the next one, yeah, it is asking about the Gram Sabha powers. The question is referring about what are the powers of Gram Sabha. Powers of Gram Sabha. As we all know, the Gram Sabha is the one of the core idea under the village panchayat system. Under the local governance structure, we have the formation of the Gram Sabha, and here the question is referring about the Gram Sabha and its powers. So let's see, the Gram Sabha has the power to prevent alienation of land in the scheduled areas. So the Gram Sabha was provided with this power under the PESA Act, nothing but Panchayat Raj extension to the Scheduled Areas Act. Under this act, the Gram Sabha has the power to prevent the land alienation program, and the Gram Sabha has the ownership of minor forest producers. So this option is also correct. This is all about the PESA Act. PESA Act, nothing but Panchayat extension to scheduled areas. Panchayat extension to scheduled areas act. Under this act, there are two types of the forest producers. Some are referred as major forest producers, like the teak, which is a major forest produce, and we have the red sanders, which is again a major forest produce. And some are referred as minor forest producers, like the collection of the gum, the bamboo, all these things are referred as minor forest produce. Under this Panchayat extension to scheduled areas act, the Gram Sabha was provided with the power to extract the minor forest producers. So this option is also correct, and this option is also correct. And the recommendation of Gram Sabha is required for granting the prospecting license of mining lease for any mineral in the scheduled areas. So the Gram Sabha is very much powerful under this act. It was even provided with the power to give the permission for the extraction of the minerals also. We have the mining practices in the country. For the mining practices, if we are conducting the mining practice under the scheduled areas, the Gram Sabha consent is must. So this is the power of the Gram Sabha regarding to the Panchayat Raj extension to scheduled areas. So this is speaking about the powers of Gram Sabha, and in this question all the options are together refers to the powers of the Gram Sabha. So the option is all of the above here. And the next one, with reference to the legislative assembly of a state in India, consider the following statement. This question is asking about the legislative assembly of a state. Remember, the question while solving we must be careful about the terminology. if the question is asking about legislature, legislature overall we refer it as a law making authority. If the question is referring to legislature, suppose, maybe it is asking for the parliament and the state legislatures together, because the legislature within the central government we refer it as parliament, and within the state government we refer it as state legislature. But here the question is particularly referring about the state legislative assembly. So let's see. The governor makes a customary address to members of the house at the commencement of the first session of the year. First session of the year. So the question is saying the governor can address the session of the house when it is a first session of the year. What are the different type of the sessions we have in the parliament? There are 3 different type of the sessions in practical sense. The constitution said definitely 2 sessions must be conducted per every year. Per every year 2 sessions must be conducted. That means the constitution allows the maximum gap between the 2 sessions is 6 months, and this period we refer it as recess. But in a practical sense, now in the Indian parliamentary structure we have the 3 different type of the sessions. One is budget session, second is monsoon session, and we have the winter session. So we have the 3 different type of the sessions: budget session, monsoon session, winter session. And for every first session of the year, nothing but the budget session. This budget session can be addressed by the governor. So the option is saying the governor has the authority to address the members of the house, houses for every session of first session of the year. It is nothing but it is asking the budget session. So the option is correct here because the governor enjoys such power. And when a state legislature does not have a rule, a particular matter, it follows the Lok Sabha rule on that matter. It is saying in case the state legislature under the rules of procedure, if it does not have the mentioning of that rule, it follows the Lok Sabha rule, what the option is referring. But we don't have any such type of the imitation of the Lok Sabha rules in the legislature, because the legislative assembly has the separate powers according to the constitution. These are the constitutionally recognized independent governments. Nowhere the Lok Sabha rules can be implemented over the legislative assembly. So this option is wrong. So the only option left over here is option 1, that is only 1 is correct. So with reference to legislative assembly of a state, out of this option, the governor has the authority to address the session, but there is no way the Lok Sabha rules can be implemented on the legislative assembly. So only 1 is correct. So here the question is asking about which of the statement is correct. So out of that only 1 is correct. So let's see the next question. Yeah. Consider the following statements. It is asking the objective of the Montagege-Chelmsford reforms of 1990. The option is giving about the Montagege-Chelmsford reforms, and to give power to the local governments. The Montagege-Chelmsford reforms nowhere mention the powers of the local government, but it has established the dyarchy in the provinces. What is meaning of dyarchy here? The dyarchy here is the dividing of the total subjects under the provincial list into 2 categories. One is transferred subjects and second is reserved subjects. So this is the mean of dyarchy. So the 1919 Government of India Act, which is also referred as the Montagege-Chelmsford reforms, is famous for establishing of dyarchy in the provinces, and along with that the extension of provincial governments. So it has the extension of provincial government, nothing but not only the Bombay, Bengal and at the time the Madras, even this act has given the power for the establishment of the provinces and its council in the other provinces also. So that's why it is the extension of the provincial government. So it is also correct. So the Montague-Chelmsford reforms has given the power for this too. So the option here is 2 and 3. And let's see what is the next question. Yeah, consider the following statement with respect to financial emergency under Article 360. What article is for the financial emergency? It is Article 360. The emergency powers what we have in the country, the President enjoys the emergency powers. Out of the emergency powers, we have the 3 different categories. One is national emergency, other one is presidential rule. The national emergency is under Article 352. National emergency is under Article 352, and state emergency are also known as the president rule is under 356 and 365, and financial emergency on the other hand is Article 360. So here the question is referring about this category of emergency, that is the financial emergency. So let's see, a proclamation of financial emergency issued cease to operate at the expiration of 2 months unless before the expiration of that period it has been approved by the resolutions of both the houses of Parliament. So this option is saying before it is to be ceased to operate, within the 2 months of period, both the houses must approve for such type of the continuation of this financial emergency. So this option is correct. So the financial emergency required this type of the approval from both the houses of the Parliament. And financial emergency can remain in operation for a maximum period of 3 years. The financial emergency maximum period is not 3 years. It can be continued by the President, and he can revoke unless and until he see there is a financial discipline in the country. So nowhere it has written under the Constitution the financial emergency should be operate only these many years. So this 3 years of time period is to the presidential rule. The maximum period the presidential rule or the state emergency can be imposed in any of the state is only 3 years. It's not the financial emergency. So out of this only the first option is correct. So the question is referring about which option is correct. So the answer is it is only one correct. So in this way the question is asking about the emergencies, and this is all about the financial emergency. And now let's see which of the following articles cannot be suspended during the national emergency. Which of the following articles cannot be suspended? Here it is asking which articles cannot be suspended here. The national emergency can be imposed in the country. When there is a national emergency, we can suspend the fundamental rights to the citizens for some of the time period, except Article 20 and 21, which says the Article 20 is a very important fundamental right out of all, because it speaks about the right to life, the right to personal liberty. So this is very important article. So except the 20 and 21, all the remaining articles can be suspended during the national emergency period. So here the option is 20 and 21. And after this the next question is match the following. Here we got the forms of government and the principles to be followed. So we have the different categories of the governments in the world. Ours is a parliamentary form of government, but we have the presidential forms of government also in some other countries like the USA. So here there is a list mentioned. Here the presidential system, the parliamentary system, federal system and the unitary system, and the principles has mentioned here. And the presidential system, it is nothing but, the presidential system. What is the difference between the presidential system and the parliamentary system? Under the presidential system, there is a separation of the powers between the legislature and the executive. Nowhere we have a coordination or the interlinkage between the legislature and the executive. That's why the presidential system is all about the independent power or the separation of the powers between the union and the, separation of the powers between the legislature and the executive. So here the presidential system is all about the separation of the powers. And the next option here is parliamentary system. What is the important feature of the Indian parliamentary system? Because we have a coordination between the legislature and the executive here. So out of these options, where can I see the separation of powers goes to the presidential system. So here it is 1. And the parliamentary system have a close relationship between the executive and the legislature. So this is the fundamental idea about the parliamentary system. The key idea why we separate our system from the presidential form of government, because in our system, all the executives are together responsible to the legislature and especially to the Lok Sabha, because the Lok Sabha is having the people's representatives directly from the people, because these are the people who are directly elected by the people. So whether it is a Lok Sabha or if you see even the Rajya Sabha also, actually all the executives are definitely responsible to the legislature, but especially to the Lok Sabha we say, because these are the direct representatives of the people. And overall the key idea of the parliamentary system is there is a close relationship between the executive and the legislature. And what is the federal system? It is the distribution of powers, the division of powers between the center and the state. What we say, it is a federal structure when we have a separation of the powers, when we have a distribution, the division of the powers between the center and the state, that is referred as federal system. So here the option is 3, because the division of powers, where can I see? It is in 3. So the unitary system on the other hand, the concentration of the power. When we say some system is unitary, when it has a centralization of the powers, the concentration of the powers only in a single hand. So the unitary system here refers to the concentration of powers. So here the option is 4. So where can I see the 1, 2, 3, 4? So 1, 2, 3, 4, it is in the first option itself. So your answer is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the different types of the governments and with the principles underlying in it. So this is very important, and many a times you will see the related questions also in a MCQ ways. Like here we covered within the match the following all the related forms of government and its principles. So this is one of the important area to be remembered for the exam point of view. Yeah, let's see the next question. Here it is saying, consider the following statements about the Charter Act 1813. So the Charter Act 1813, it is famous for the ending of the trade monopoly of East India Company. This statement is true because the 1813 Charter Act is famous for the ending of the trade of the East India Company, but there was a slight exclusion because the 1813 accepted the East India Company trade in tea and trade with China. So except these exceptions, it has overall ended all the trading activities of the East India Company. So this option is correct, and it asserted the sovereignty of the British Crown over the Indian territories held by the company. That means With the ending of the monopoly business of East India Company, the British Crown asserted a sovereignty over the Indian territories. So this is also correct, and the revenues of India were now controlled by the British Parliament. In this act, the British Parliament has not entered into the revenue collection zone, and it has with the East India Company only, but only the trade was ended, and overall the sovereignty of the Indian territories were transferred to the British Crown. So this is only the thing, the 1813 we observe. So out of this only 1 and 2 are correct, 3 is wrong. So out of this the first option is correct, that is 1 and 2. So the next one here, that is article 19. So sorry, the 19th question, it is saying article 46 of the constitution refers. Article 46 of the Constitution of India refers to the promotion of educational and economical interests of. First of all, for this type of questions, we have to understand where the 46th article comes. So if we remember, from the article 36 to 51, all these articles are part of the directive principles of state policy, which are mentioned under part 4 of the constitution. Yes or no? All these are in relation with the directive principles of state policy. So the article 46 falls under the directive principles of state policy, and this 46 falls under Gandhian principle. Out of the 3 different principles, which are liberal and intellectual, socialistic and the Gandhian principles, out of this the 46 comes under the Gandhian principle, which speaks about the promotion of the SEs, ST and the welfare of these people and the weaker sections. So here the article 46, it is asking the promotion of the educational and economical interests of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other weaker sections. So here the answer is, this is just right away the remembering of the article. So if in case if you are failure to recollect that one, first just decode in this way, this article falls under which category, based on that we can easily pick what is correct. So this is all about article 46. And next see 20, the question 20 here, it is saying the acquisition of the land estates by the government for construction of highways and other infrastructure deals with which of the following parts of the constitution? This question is referring about the land acquisition program of the government. What is meaning of land acquisition? Whenever the developmental projects can be taken up, whether it is a highways, whether it is a infrastructure build up, whether it is the railways, whatever the infrastructure it builds, the government has to acquire some of the land. So the land acquisition is one of the important category for the developmental projects of the government. So this question is referring about the land acquisition, and it is saying the land acquisition falls under which part of our constitution? And let's see, option 1 is given, the part 3 fundamental rights. So the fundamental rights nowhere has mentioned about the acquisition of the property. In fact, it has removed the article 31, which was a right to property. So it has in fact removed this article, it has not mentioned the land acquisition corner here. So this is wrong, because the fundamental rights has not covers this one. Under article 19 also, 19(1)(f) deals about the right to acquire, dispose and possess any of the property. That is also we have removed through the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978, and we made it as only legal right. So the fundamental rights don't mention the land acquisition program. And the directive principles of state policy. The directive principles of state policy gives the permission for the land acquisition, because whenever this type of developmental projects can be taken up for the welfare of the people, it allows for such type of the acquisition the Article 36 speaks about this type of the acquisition. And Part 4A, fundamental duties. Duties nowhere mention this one. We don't have the duties. And Part 12, finance, property and contracts and so. Once we have removed this Article 31, we have incorporated this right to property under Article 12, under 300A article of our constitution. So this is all about the acquisition of the land. So overall here 2 and 4, these two only mentions about the land acquisition. So out of this, where can I see the option? This is 2. So that is 2 and 4 only mentions the land acquisition, not the remaining things. So this is the land acquisition program. And the next question, where have the words "we the people of India" been used in the Constitution of India? This is a very basic question and a simple question. As we start the polity classes with the preamble, because it is an introductory paper or the introductory phase for the Indian Constitution, which mentions the nature and the objective of Indian Constitution. So the starting line of the preamble itself speaks about we the people of India. This is the opening line of the preamble. So out of this it says we the people of India being used in the which part of the Constitution of India? It is the preamble of the Constitution, because the preamble starts, we the people of India having solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. So the word has mentioned under the preamble of the Constitution. Let's see the next question. Under the Constitution of India, which of the following is not a fundamental duty? Here it is asking out of the following option, which is not a fundamental duty. As we discussed in the previous series also, the fundamental duty is the basic responsibilities the citizens must have in this country, and the fundamental duties presently have the 11 number in total. Under that we have the duties like to develop the scientific temper, this is one of the duty, to safeguard the public property, this is also one of the duty, and to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideals, this is also one of the duty. But to vote in the public elections is not a fundamental duty. This is not a fundamental duty. All the remaining 3 mentioned here are fundamental duties out of the 11 total list. So option here, the question is asking about which is not a fundamental duty. So the option here is first option. So this is a very straight away question. You have to just remember the fundamental duties list. Out of that we have to pick one. Let's see the next one. Which of the following authorities makes recommendations to the governor of the state so as to the principles for determining in taxes and duties which may be appropriated by the panchayats in that particular state? It is talking about the panchayats revenue collection powers and the panchayats distribution of the revenues from the states. So the state finance commission takes the responsibility for the distribution of the revenues between the states and the panchayats. So here, though the question looks little complicated, but if you can able to decode the question, this is a very simple. So based on the State Finance Commission recommendations, the panchayats revenue can be distributed from the states. So this is very simple. And the next question, which one of the following was not a feature of provincial executive according to the Government of India Act 1935? So this question is asking about Government of India Act 1935 and the provincial councils. So the first option is the executive authority of the province was vested in the governor. The province's executive power is with the governor, yeah, and this is correct because the provinces are under the control of the governor. And there was a council of ministers to advise the governor. Yeah, of course, at that time we had a system of the governors with the council of ministers who aid and advise the governor. And the dyarchy was established by the Government of India Act 1919, was abolished at the provincial level. This is very important because the Government of India Act 1919 has introduced the dyarchy at the provinces, but the Government of India Act 1935 has abolished the dyarchy at the provinces and introduced the same pattern of dyarchy at the center. So this option is also correct. And the governor could be removed by a vote of no confidence of provincial legislature. No. The Government of India Act 1935 has not mentioned this one. So this provision is not there. So the option is 4 here. So this is directly from the Government of India Act 1935. And let's see the next question. Which one of the following sequence of dignitaries is in correct order as per the protocol in India? It is nothing but, the question is referring about the order of precedence. So here they have given the Prime Minister, the former President and the Chief Justice of India. So under the order of precedence, the Prime Minister follows by the former President and follows by the Chief Justice of India. This is the order of precedence we have as a protocol in the Indian parliamentary structure. So straight away this is the Prime Minister followed by former President, then followed by Chief Justice of India. This is straight away question. And the next question. Which of the following statements are correct regarding to Indian Constituent Assembly? The question is referring about the Constituent Assembly. As we all know, the Constituent Assembly was created for the purpose of creation of the Constitution. So here it was not based on adult franchise. To understand this one, first we have the two types of the election process here. One is the direct election system, which is referred as the universal adult franchise. Universal adult franchise. And there is a indirect method of election based on proportional representation. So we have the direct election with the universal adult franchise, indirect election with the proportional representation. What is mean by universal adult franchise? It is nothing but the person whoever are above the 18 years of age, they are entitled to vote in our country without having any discrimination based on the gender, based on the age, based on the caste, based on the religion or any other grounds for that matter. Everyone are universally, nothing but the equally entitled to vote in the election process of the country. So that is the direct election. Indirect election on the other hand, which is the method of proportional representation. The Constituent Assembly has followed the proportional representation, which is nothing but the indirect way of election. So the first option here saying it was not based on adult franchise. Of course, it is not adult franchise, it is proportional representation. So this option is correct. And it resulted from direct election. No, it resulted from indirect election. And it was not a multi-party body. No, it is a multi-party body because at that time the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League both are having the political parties, and the Constituent Assembly got the members from the political parties. The Muslim League and the Indian National Congress was the largest political parties at that time, and there are minute political parties also joined the Constituent Assembly. So it is a multi-party body. So here the option says it is not. So the option is wrong here. And it worked through the several committees. Yeah, as we know, the drafting committee, which is a major committee under the Constituent Assembly, and we have the Union Powers Committee, the Provincial Powers Committee. We have the different type of the committees for the different purposes. The Fundamental Rights Committee, which is one of the major committee under the Constituent Assembly. So overall it worked through the several committees, as we have seen already. That's why out of these options it is saying which are correct regarding the Indian Constituent Assembly. Out of this, which are correct? 1 and 4 are correct. So here the option is 1 and 4. So be careful. First, if you feel like you know the answer very well also, just follow the instructions carefully, read each and every option carefully, do your exercise. Though you waste 1 minute of time also, there is no problem. You will end up with the correct answer without having any doubt. So just do exercise in this way and pick the options which are correct, which are not correct, and see again, have a relook whether the question is asking about correct or not correct. You should be very, very careful for this type of questions, whether the question is referring the correct statements or wrong statements. So here the question is asking about correct statements, so accordingly you have to pick the option. This is the way how you have to solve the paper. You please take little bit of extra time, but make sure you solve the paper correctly. That is the objective of the solving of multiple choice questions here. Let's see the next question, that is the main advantage of the parliamentary form of government. As we have already discussed just in the previous questions, the presidential and the parliamentary form of governments, and we have the principles under that. So here the main advantages of the parliamentary form of government. What are the parliamentary form of government advantages? As we said, the executive remains responsible to the legislature. Just now I have discussed on this point. Under the parliamentary form of government, the executive is responsible to the legislature. There is nowhere you have the separation of functions between the executive and legislature. The executive and legislature here are the coordination between each other and they work together. That's why the executive remains responsible to the legislature and our system. So that is the parliamentary form of government important principle or the important feature. So here this is a straight away question, that is executive are responsible to the legislature. Let's see the next question. The two provisions of the Constitution of India that most clearly express the power of judicial review. What is the meaning of judicial review here? The power of judicial review. What is meaning of judicial review? The judiciary has the power to review the legislative and the executive actions. That is what mean by judicial review. In our constitution, we have the authority of judicial review and we have borrowed this judicial review from the American Constitution. The American Constitution also has the judicial review. In the same pattern, we have the judicial review, but our judicial review is little limited. It is not as powerful as American judicial review. Our judicial review is based on the procedure established by law, but definitely our judiciary has the power to review the legislative and the executive actions. So based on the procedure established by law, we have the judicial review, and the Supreme Court and the High Court enjoys the judicial review powers. The Supreme Court under Article 32, it will review the legislative and executive actions, and the High Court under Article 226. So here where can we see these two options? The Supreme Court with the 32 article and the High Court with 226. So this option is correct. The judicial review, where we say the judiciary has the power for the reviewing of legislative and executive actions. Supreme Court speaks this one under 32 and the High Court under 226. So the option here is Article 32 and 226. And the next question, what is correct out of the following? In a Gram Panchayat, there can be more than one village. The Gram Panchayat says one or two villages together can form a one panchayat. So this option is correct. This option is correct. And meeting of Gram Sabha held in each village. So the Gram Sabha can be held in each village. The Panchayat system gives that power to the village to create a Gram Sabha. The Gram Sabha is nothing but all the voters, whoever are enrolled themselves in the voter list under the village Panchayat, they all be members of this Gram Sabha. So the Gram Sabha has more power here because they can discuss and have a debates on the different type of problems within the village, and they can resolve the issues and they can bring that issues to the concerned Panchayat head, that is the Sarpanch. So that is the major motto of creating the Gram Sabha. So the Gram Sabha can be held in villages, and the meeting of Gram Sabha held in the headquarters of Gram Panchayat. No need. The Gram Sabha can be held at the village level only. There is no need of holding it at the headquarters of Gram Panchayat. Meeting of Gram Panchayat held in each village. So no. The Gram Panchayat must be held at the headquarters of Gram Panchayat. Gram Sabha can be held at village level, but the meetings of Gram Panchayat must be at the headquarters of the Gram Panchayat. So here, out of this, the question is asking which of the statements are correct. So out of this, 1, 2 and 5 are correct. So this is also correct. So 1, 2, 5. So where can we see the option? So here, 1, 2, 5. This is the correct option. The next question. Which of the following are not necessarily the consequences of the proclamation of the President's rule in a state? And the option here, dissolution of the State Legislative Assembly, removal of the Council of Ministers in the state, dissolution of the local bodies. The question is asking not necessarily, nothing but if there is an imposition of the President rule in any of the state, you no need to take this type of action. The question is asking about not necessarily to take the steps. So the dissolution of State Legislative Assembly, we no need to dissolve the State Legislative Assembly. The dissolution of the State Legislative Assembly is not required for the imposition of the President's rule, but we can remove the Council of Ministers in the state because the administration can be transferred to the President, and the President runs the state's administration with the support of governor. So there is a chance of removal of the Council of Ministers, but there is no way the dissolution of State Legislative Assembly can be done. And the dissolution of the local bodies, no. The panchayats and the municipalities can work independently and we don't need to disturb them. So this is also wrong. So here the question is asking, you don't need to, not necessarily the consequences of proclamation of President rule in the state. So only 2 is correct, 2 is can be done. So 1 and 3 there is no need to follow. The option is 1 and 3. So these are the some of the important questions of the polity for this class, and we'll come up with the some more questions in the next video. Please do follow our channel for the regular discussion of the polity questions, and we hope this series will help you to score very high in your paper. Thank you so much for watching.
గత 25 ఏళ్లుగా మన హైదరాబాద్ నగర యువతను ఉన్నతాధికారులుగా విజేతలుగా తీర్చిదిద్దుతూ విజయ పదంపై దూసుకువెళుతున్నది విజేత స్టడీ సర్కిల్. అపార అనుభవం గల ఉపాధ్యాయులచే విద్యా బోధన, డిఎస్సి, టెట్, ఎస్సిటి, పిఇటి, హెచ్పిటి, టిపిటి, స్కూల్ అసిస్టెంట్, గ్రూప్ 1, గ్రూప్ 2, గ్రూప్ 4 మరియు విఆర్ఓ, విఆర్ఏ, పంచాయతీ సెక్రటరీలకు కూడా కోచింగ్ ఇస్తున్నది. డిఎస్సి 2012 ఫలితాల్లో స్టేట్ 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3 ర్యాంకులతో పాటు 100కు పైగా జిల్లా ఫస్ట్, సెకండ్ ర్యాంకులు మరియు గత 3 టెట్ ఎగ్జామ్స్ లో స్టేట్ ర్యాంకులతో సహా 200 మందికి పైగా 120 మార్కులు సాధించింది ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ లోనే నెంబర్ 1 సంస్థ విజేత స్టడీ సర్కిల్. కరెంట్ అఫైర్స్, మ్యాథ్స్, సోషల్, బయోసైన్స్, ఫిజికల్ సైన్స్, ఇంగ్లీష్, ఫిజిక్స్, బయాలజీ వంటి సబ్జెక్టులలో అనుభవజ్ఞులచే బోధన. మా సంస్థలో చేరిన ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి గవర్నమెంట్ జాబ్ వచ్చేలా బోధన ప్రోత్సాహం. మా బ్రాంచ్లు దిల్సుఖ్ నగర్, కేపీహెచ్బి, విద్యానగర్. త్వరపడండి, కొత్త బ్యాచ్లు ప్రారంభమవుతున్నాయి. వివరాలకు వివరాలకు సంప్రదించండి మా ఫోన్ నంబర్